Hello everyone, this is Barry Fair. I'm here to present an edited version of Out and About. And the reason for that is because of the privacy reasons. Okay? I'm sorry I can't mention anybody's name. So I've had to delete some of the footage from the previous videos that I recently did. So, so when we go out again, I will do the show properly and will not mention anyone's name or talk about them. Okay, so I'm sorry viewers about that, but due to privacy reasons, I cannot keep any video with anyone's name mentioned in it. So I'm sorry, but I've had to delete episode 3 from May, and also some of the new Farm Park video. So I'm sorry about that. Anyway, here is the edited version of Out and About with Barry and Mark. I hope you enjoy it. Well, good afternoon and welcome back to our show. Well, we're at Sapphire now, and I've just finished my shopping, and here's Mark.
Yeah, so it was a quick trip today, just a bit of banking and shopping. So we haven't come far, and but we have the same old issues.
With the cabs, will I get us to where we want to go? No. Here's Mark now.
Well, if they turn up, they get us there, but getting one to turn up seems to be the biggest issue. And unfortunately, automated systems don't work well when they can't find you a taxi for hours.
Unfortunately, that's how it is. So today we've been talking about wearing a mask. Now, as you can see, Mark and I are wearing a mask. And why? Because they are compulsory. Here's Mark now.
Well, there's still a mandate on public transport and in health facilities, but it has been lifted for the rest of it. So at the moment, it's only when we're in the taxi in theory, and oddly enough, if you go into a shopping centre, you don't have to wear your mask until you get into the chemist, and then you've got to wear a mask when you go to the chemist, or when you go to the doctor, obviously. So anything that is deemed medical or public transport requires a mask.
So even though Mark and I have had COVID, it is very important to adhere to the rules. Here's Mark.
Yes, technically we're still in our post-COVID don't need to test phase, but just in the spirit of doing the right thing, it's much easier to wear a mask on all occasions when it's mandated, rather than saying, well, I don't need one for the next month because I've had COVID. So always better to wear it if you can.
So, please safe guys, sanitize and wear a mask. And like I said earlier on the show today, if you've got COVID symptoms, guys, please stay home. Here's Mark now.
Yes, take the opportunity to stay home and enjoy yourselves in the absence of being forced to go out for other reasons. So I suppose, as we said earlier, make sure that you are set up so that if the worst happens, that you're covered for a few days, and think about what's going to entertain you under the circumstances, because you probably won't feel too good.
So what is the COVID? What is COVID? Well, as I said on episode 21, okay, you get a sore throat, a runny nose, and all of that. Here's Mark.
Yeah, so, well, actually, there are so many variants out there now. It's worth looking up what the symptoms are, because there's obviously the respiratory symptoms of runny nose, cough, sore throat. There's also headaches and gastrointestinal symptoms as well. So it can cause diarrhea, vomiting, and these weren't routinely reported in the early days, but it's certainly become a much more common observation that people do have gastrointestinal issues as well as respiratory issues.
Excuse me. And like I said, if you do get COVID, guys, please be prepared for it. Here's Mark.
Yes, just a little bit of forward planning, just in case the worst happens and you are stuck at home. It can, particularly if you're on your own, or you know the person that you're with is meant to be doing a close contact isolation as well. It's very difficult to get out there and do anything as far as shopping, etc. is concerned. So better to have a little bit of reserve. Don't need to have 6 months worth, obviously, but just a little bit of reserve so you're not left short if the worst does happen.
So it is better to be safe. Right. We know it sometimes is very inconvenient, but you've got to play it safe. Here's Mark.
Yeah, it's really just looking after yourself will in fact look after everyone else. So think of it as just looking after yourself, and it'll stand everybody else in good stead as well.
So don't take your anger out on someone else when you've been taken to isolate, guys. Here's Mark.
Yes, it's another theme that we've explored in the past, and it serves no purpose to project a bad mood or a bad circumstance onto people who aren't involved. It doesn't serve a purpose for you, and it quite frankly is rude to the other people that get treated badly because you're in a bad mood.
So if you've got a problem with your isolation, guys, or any concern, talk to your family members. I know even with me when I was in COVID, okay, I was very frustrated during this time. Here's Mark now.
Yes, it's one thing to be frustrated and understand the circumstances. It's another thing to get angry because you're frustrated. So as Barry says, don't let that frustration project out as anger and affect all of the relationships around you.
Because it is not right to take your anger out on someone else because you've been on the Wi-Fi. Here's Mark now.
Yes, just to reiterate what Barry said, it isn't fair to treat other people badly because you're in a bad mood, and it doesn't help that they usually don't know why. So it's very hard to ask forgiveness when you've just been rude because you feel like it.
And sometimes saying sorry doesn't always cut the cake. Here's Martin.
No, a bit of pre-thought to avoid the situation is much better than having to rely on somebody accepting your apology, because there are times when it probably shouldn't be accepted.
Because you can't just say, oh, I don't care about the consequences. Because if you go out when you've got COVID, you could spread it to everyone else. Here's Mark now.
Well, it's the basic premise of why we're in the situation we're in, is the spread of COVID. It has obviously had a very significant impact on us on many levels, and maybe now's the time to wake up and say, oh yeah, I probably should just do the right thing.
Because it is important, guys. Well, the last thing we're going to talk about on the show is being prepared for a shopping tour. Well, being prepared for a shopping tour. Right out of shopping tour. Here's Mark.
Well, it is easier if you have a list of what you want. If you're like me and you write out the shopping list and then you get to the shops and think, oh, yeah, and that, and that, and that, and then I get in the car and think, oh, I needed this too, but it wasn't on the list and it didn't pop into my head while I was there. So if I kept an extensive shopping list, it'd be a very good example for me. Of course, my trouble is I can't remember what I've done with the list.
So it's no good coming to the shop and not remembering what you needed to buy. So before you go shopping, have a look at what is in your cupboards first. Here's Mark.
I have to admit, if I really need to remember something, I have to record it in my phone, because I'm more than likely going to have my phone with me, regardless of whether I remember the list or not, and at least then I can just refer to the list that's in my phone. So either a photo of a list or make the list in notes.
So, compromising going to buy what at the shops as well. Here's Mark.
I missed that.
If you've got someone with you at the shops, compromise. Here is Mark.
So I think that's it's not all about me aspect of life in general, but if you're shopping with other people, then obviously they're going to want to go to different parts of the shop, etc. to you, potentially. So it's just a matter of recognising that you're all there to do the same thing and being patient with each other to make sure that you're not trying to dictate to others how they should be spending their time with you.
And your phone. So as we were saying, compromise when you go shopping, because it is important, guys, okay? And work out where you're going to meet at the end of the shopping expedition. Here's Mark.
Well, I rarely go shopping in groups, I have to say. So, but what Barry says, very important about any group doing anything anywhere, is that people need to be aware of where you're going, with whom, and for how long, just so that groups can coordinate their movements. If you just take off from a group and they all have to sit around and wait for you, that is exceedingly frustrating for all those that are waiting, and probably not well received.
And shopping centres, guys, are really big places, so work out where you're going to go, okay? And have your mobile phone on as well, and send the text to the person who you are with, tell them where you are and what your movements are, and etc. Arrange a meeting point. Here's Mark.
Yep, so if you do all of that, there'll never be any issues. Of course, in the absence of mobile phones, having a set time and meeting point is the other good option, but everything else will usually end in chaos.
Sometimes there's a bit of frustration with the person that has been found, because of the way it's sick. Here's Mark.
Yes, one of the most devastating things for people is if they are actually worried about you, because they're not sure where you are and what you're doing, then it becomes very emotional. So it's just about being mindful of others, and that a little bit of communication removes a heck of a lot of anxiety.
Because for all you they know, could have gone over somewhere or something may have happened. Here's Mark.
Yeah, so it's not knowing. As Barry said, anything could have happened. You probably just lost track of time and engrossed in whatever it is that you're shopping for. But for someone that's waiting for you and wondering what's going on, that's not a very good reason for just not showing up somewhere when you say you're going to.
So this is where we like to bring this important part of the show to you. You are responsible for your actions. Here's Mark.
Yes, and you're also responsible for the communication that lets people around you know what's going on. And I've often found it helps to make sure that if you're trying to communicate something specific, that you have to check on the understanding of what you've just communicated, because the number of times that people think they've been heard or understood but have not is extraordinary.
So guys, be responsible when you are out and about shopping, and if you are lost, ask a security guy or woman to direct you to where you've got to go. And there are signs at the shopping center. Here's Mark.
So I think virtually anyone that's working in any of the shops in a shopping centre should be able to direct you to where you need to be, hopefully. Of course, some of them are so massive that I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people didn't know all of the other shops that are in the complex. So still best to pre-plan rather than hope for the best after the fact.
Well, that brings to an end our shopping expedition in Stratton. Please join us back at the studio and we'll see you there.
See you there.
See you there, guys. Bye. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Flat Point again today, and we're here to present another video for you, and welcome along to episode 33. Joining me now is Mark English, a master, Mark English.
Hello all. Welcome to episode 33 yet again.
And this is part 2 now. So, I've spoken to Derek twice today in the NDIA, and clarified a few things, and they're going to resend the letter. Here's Mark now.
Yes, I suppose everyone that works within government departments understands the bureaucracy and the complex and convoluted nature of the way things are done. So, you know, it often needs a lot of clarification to understand exactly what's going on.
So, this is episode 33, and a kid is just trying to run across the road there, very dangerous indeed. So we might talk about road safety now, moving off NDIS. Well, road safety around shopping centres, guys, is very important. Here's Mark now.
Yes, there's a lot of uncontrolled vehicles wandering around, concentrating more on where they're going to park and how to get out than what's immediately around them. So, for your own safety, you need to be extremely aware of what the traffic's doing.
So never just walk out in front of a car, a bus, or taxi, or anything. That is very dangerous. Because if you can't see the taxis, well, they can't see you. Here's Mark.
Well, there's an element of truth to that, but generally speaking, I think most drivers tend to be looking at where they're going, and a lot of pedestrians don't. So it actually requires both parties to be equally mindful of what's going on around them.
So it is very important, guys, to look where you are going, look before you cross, that sort of thing. Here's Mark now.
Yeah, all the old safety rules still hold true. You know, look to the left, look to the right, look to the left again, and you know, before you cross. And it's just common sense, because in any battle between car, truck, whatever, and human will always lose.
And even with that cab, if you step out in front of the cabinets coming and can collect you, and you will go bang. Here's Mark.
Hopefully you don't, and you avoid it by the skin of your teeth. But absolutely, anywhere, anytime, never step off the curb without looking, and just be mindful of what's around you in general.
And like at the start of the program today, Mark was very coffee. Here he is.
Well, I think I'm improving rather than getting worse, which is good. So only time will tell, really.
And so just getting back to what happened before we brought the second part of the show to you, I had to clarify some things with NDIA, and here's Mark.
Yes, there's been a few conversations, and one conversation, followed by another, all using the same terminology for slightly different things, leads to confusion. I think the word funding gets used in every other sentence, but has many and multiple meanings. So that's where all of the confusions come from so far. What does the approved funding refer to, and is that, or does that have anything to do with the move? Because that's the question on your mind, Barry, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does it have anything to do with the move? So, from what we've learned so far, all the conversations, no, it doesn't have anything to do with the move at this point in time.
Well, it says that I'm being improved for our house in Sydney.
Yes.
And all of that. So that is why it is always very important, guys, to clarify before you count your chickens. Here's Mark.
Yes. It's difficult sometimes to get the answers to the questions that you have, simply because the real answer is we don't know yet. We haven't had any meetings to determine whether that will or will not be covered. So in Barry's case, the actual cost of the move as opposed to his day-to-day cost of living. So at the moment, only his day-to-day cost of living has been approved.
Both here and in Sydney.
Yes, yeah.
Well, and it is also very important, guys, to speak politely on the phone. Don't be rude. Here's Martin.
It's an area of expertise of Barry's, where he's regularly having to be in touch with people who are trying to organise things for him, and it requires a lot of communication to keep up. He's always extremely polite on the phone, no matter how many times it might have been to get the same non-answer, but just lines up and has another crack.
So the important thing about being polite on the phone, guys, is really important, and give your name and contact number in case the person you wish to speak to is not there. Here's Martin.
Yeah, best to, for all conversations where you're looking for an outcome, have everything that you need prepared. So if you want to talk about a letter, make sure you've got the letter in front of you. It makes life so much easier, and you know, the assumption that we all make that everyone can see everything isn't necessarily true, and unfortunately the way systems bounce in and out of functionality these days, there's absolutely zero guarantees of ringing up and people being able to look up a file to refer to while they're talking to you.
So that is why I rang them to check the file. Here's Mark.
Yep, so Barry has, and well, really still has questions, but you know, he's rung a number of people today to clarify, and we've reached a point of understanding that we still have no knowledge.
So, don't count your chickens in case something hasn't been approved. Here's Mark.
And especially don't assume that your understanding of what you've read is going to be accurate, and you know, absolutely you probably need to run it past half a dozen people and get half a dozen opinions of what it all means before you can decipher it. I know for one, I have not ever had to deal with this type of bureaucratic letters, and I'm left confused on a routine basis, maybe because I don't know the system, but I just suspect I don't know how they communicate.
So as before we do go today and continue our show back home, always be polite and friendly to people on the phone. Don't ever abuse them. Here's Mark.
Yeah, it just follows the same theme of being polite and maintaining decorum so that you're not offending anyone and that they actually want to help you achieve an outcome rather than absolutely do not want to help you at all.
So remember, politeness is the way to go, guys, because at the end of the day, if you're polite to someone on the phone, then they will be polite to you back. Here's Mark.
It's a continuing theme, so it comes down to just treating people with respect.
And in 2 weeks, when we come back to you, we'll come back to you again over this. So Mark will not be with me next Monday, so I don't know who I will have with me to come do the show, but I can tell you I have enjoyed the time here in Queensland. It will soon be coming to an end. Here's Mark.
Well, got a few months to go, so it's not next week, but you know, hopefully before Christmas is the ultimate time frame, and I do say hopefully.
So hopefully within 3 to 4 months, that is when I will get the date. So when I do get that date, guys, I will let you viewers know, and perhaps organize a farewell and for our last show You might even go to Scarborough again when it's when it's warmer.
Yes.
Okay, and check out Morgan's again. Okay, so we will continue the show back at the studio, and we'll see you there.
Look forward to it.
And we look forward to you coming. So stay with us. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Marumba Downs. This is Barry Beer here with episode number 34. Sorry I haven't been able to bring you an episode out. Well, today's episode is all about the Subway. Now, you've all heard of the food chain Subway, and this is what we've got today. I've got a tuna and avocado roll here, and I will just tell you about it. Now, this is a good bread here, and what bread is mine?
Multigrain.
This is multigrain here, so very important, guys, to watch what we eat and drink, and Subway is much better than the fish and chips, we can tell you that. Now, if we eat and drink everything in moderation, our health will be good. Now, the reason I am happy today is because I've had a good result, a good appointment with the GP, but we won't go into that. And the reason for that is in aid of me returning to NSW in a couple of months from this time. I also had a flu jab today, which I'll tell you about later on. Okay, so this here is I'm about to eat, and this is a food review today, proudly brought to you by Subway. Okay, so I'm about to eat mine. Our lovely cab driver brought us down here today. We had a pleasant cab ride down and quite good. And Manuela, what a good day it is today.
It's a lovely day.
And Subway is where we're eating today. So like I just said, it is really important to eat healthy and keep well. So when we get back to the house, we will recap all of this, and I better get stuck into my Subway. And I will tell you about it. So, very important to eat well, and while I do have you viewers out here, or out there, important to keep hydrated as well. So I will just take a drink. even on a cold day, ladies and gentlemen, it is still very important to keep hydrated. Dehydration is never good, and you will get pretty sick if you are not hydrated, guys. Nothing like green cordial to get me hydrated. So, the day has been excellent for me so far, and I deserve to be happy because I've had good news from the doctor, from the GP. And I've also had the flu jab today. So kill two birds with one stone, as everyone as the saying goes. So we're gonna take a break now, so I can eat my Subway, and I will get back to you to recap on the Subway and give it a score out of 10. Manuel, how would you rate your wrap?
Right about 7.5.
7.5 out of 10. Not a bad score. Not a bad score at all. So, like I said, I'm going to take a break now and eat my Subway, and then we will get back to you and we will rate it. But before the break, okay? So far at Bray Park, I have done some cracking videos, and all of that. So it's not that I haven't enjoyed Queensland, but I can honestly tell you, ladies and gentlemen that are watching out there, it doesn't mean that I haven't enjoyed your company when I have. And to tell you the truth, I've enjoyed it. Enjoyed being out and about with you all. And the most exciting time was going to the Gold Coast, but like I said at the train station, guys, it was raining. Here's Manuel now.
You went to the Gold Coast without me? Oh.
No, remember the time it was raining?
Oh, that was the Sunshine Coast, yes.
The Sunshine Coast. It really, we should have checked the weather for that day.
We did, that was the problem.
But that was an adventure.
It was an adventure, that is true.
So I'm gonna take a break now, and I'll get back to you.
Okay, let's re-sanitize my hands.
And while I do have you here, very important to sanitize the hands, ladies and gentlemen out there. Very important indeed. So, let me tuck into the Subway for you. And I I've got tuna and avocado. Now, tuna, right, is good. Now, if this has got omega-3, guys, now, if you're a tuna lover, go in and get some. Right.
Okay, so
Make sure we cut it up in small pieces there so I don't choke.
are they too big, Barry, or do I need to cut them up in smaller?
The small will do. So I will take a break and come back to you. This is very fair. Well, good afternoon, and we've just returned from around the downs today, and what a day we've had. Beautiful day, but the clouds are rolling in, and we could get some rain. And just to recap on what we did, we had Subway for lunch there, and it was really good. I had tuna and avocado, and meanwhile I had a rat. Here she is to tell you about it.
I had a meatball and salad wrap.
Beautiful. And a healthy way of eating good. So just to recap on what happened, guys, I went to get a health check today, and everything was good. This was in aim for me to go back to Sydney in a couple of months' time. So as you probably heard, I will not be continuing this show in this format like I've been doing. But I will let you know when my last day will be. But I've still got a while to go yet. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my company today. And before I do go, always think positive. Things are not going your way, guys. Okay, don't go off the handle. Talk to everyone in a nice, polite manner, and resolve the issue in another light way. Here's Manuela now.
Yeah, you were well behaved today and you got some good information and you'll be going back to Sydney soon. Yeah. Bit sad really.
Well, sad for the Queensland viewers, but guys, I've got to do what is right for me, and yeah, so as the saying goes, do what your heart tells you. Here's Manuel.
Yeah, I think you have to follow your heart.
but don't take any notice of what other people think. And if you've heard the Billy Joel song, guys, My Life from 1979, I'm sure you have a listen to it. You know, some of the lyrics say, I don't care what you say anymore, this is my life. And then it goes, go to hell with your own life. Leave me alone. I think that's a bit offensive, if you've asked me. If you want my opinion on this. Do you think saying go to hell is a bit offensive?
You think saying
Go to hell is a bit offensive.
yeah, it is.
Another way of saying something politely, okay, is saying thanks for your input and opinion, but I do not need it.
That's a better way of saying it, definitely.
Say no thanks, but no thanks, and just leave it at that. So just before we do go today, just going over the Subway, absolutely delicious, $8 and how much?
I don't remember, hon.
$8.60 something. So around about $8. So cheap as chips. If you're in the health food, guys, go right ahead, you know, and choose something healthy for lunch. Here's Manuela now.
Yeah, healthy is a very good option. Yeah. And for lunch is supposed to be one of your biggest meals of the day, so yeah.
So that's all we've got for episode 33 today. Episode 34 is coming up next. And until the next time, you take care and we'll see you later. Have a good afternoon, everybody. Bye bye.